Hello YouTube, Dave here again. Today I'm going to be doing an unboxing or opening, whatever you want to call it, of the Spellbook cards for the Cleric class for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. So I showed this off in a pickups video, and on Monday, if you watched, I also had picked up the Taroka deck for Curse of Strahd and opened that. So today I'm going to be looking at the Cleric cards. I've previously done an opening for the Spellbook cards for Xanathar's Guide, which contains the spells printed in Xanathar's Guide to Everything, as well as the Elemental Evil storyline. And I also have the Arcane cards, which I will be uploading my video of opening those up on Friday, so be sure to check that out as well. But this one is the Cleric cards. So, just taking a look at the packaging, one thing that's immediately noticeable is it's quite a bit thicker than the Xanathar's Guide, about 1.5 times the size, so there's probably, hopefully a few more cards in here. Xanathar's Guide had 95 cards in it, and this one contains, as we look here, so 153 cards. So they're durable, laminated for all the cleric cantrips and spells from levels 1 through 9. So this is the player's handbook spells, as far as I know. I don't think there's, I can't recall, honestly, if there were spells in Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide or not. But, so without further ado, let's have a look here. And like I said, I think these are all differently color-coded. And I'm honestly not sure which side I have as the top, so I think I'll just go with the left side, because that way I can just open it with my left hand. And I think that's what I did with Xanathar's, because yeah, the right side feels a lot more difficult to open up. So we'll just pop this open, hopefully, without causing too much damage. And just take a look inside. So similar to the Xanathar's Guide cards, it's got a divider inside, and it's got the two separate packages or bundles. And that is actually secured in there, okay? I didn't know if the divider, and it is kind of hard to see that with just the lighting. But there you go there. So like I said, there's 153 cards in here. I'm not going to show them all off, simply because there's really no need to do that, but I just thought that I would at least show a few of them. And actually there's some cool stuff that I want to do here, so I'll look at this particular stack. Now, as far as prices go, I'm going to be honest, when I picked these up at the store, they didn't have price tags on them, and the bag that I had them in, I don't know where that is, so I don't have my copy of the receipt. Looking on the Gale Force 9 website, they do retail for $20 US, which I think worked out to around $25 to $26 or $27 Canadian. So, just having a look here, so they got them sort of bundled, so that they're all the specific levels should be together in this. So you'd have like cantrips, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, like all the different spell levels. So it's organized that way, which is pretty cool. And just right on the front, it even looks like there is a blank card. So that's kind of interesting. So let's just have a look here. I'm sure you can use, since it's laminated, you can probably use a dry erase marker on it. I don't want to necessarily try that though. So let's just see if I can rip this open here. There we go. Heard the seam pop. So these things are really cool. They're great aids, and as far as I'm concerned, if you can find them, definitely pick them up. Now, I've had a lot of difficulty trying to find these where I live, and I've had people, ask if that's, if they're really that rare overall. And honestly, I don't think that's the case. It's just where I live, it's a little bit out of the way, and there are other more major cities and locations in Canada that the distributors would probably give priority to. So anyway, so this is just a blank card, which is kind of interesting. I don't know, maybe it's if you have the ability to, if like a spell comes out maybe in like an Unearthed Arcana article, or in a resource that they don't have the actual cards out for yet, you could kind of make your own, which is kind of neat. Now on the back, so this would shows like the 0 level, which is essentially a cantrip. I think it would have been better to have a C instead of a cantrip, but anyway. So let's just take a look at these. So let's just get past, separate all the, all the cantrips out. Now the cards, where they were packed together, are a little bit difficult to get apart right now, but let's just have a look at a few of these here, because some of the cantrips will be different than the actual higher level spells, but just show you some examples and how to read the card. So this one again is all for Cleric, and I'm really hoping that, kind of looking at it now, I'm actually really hoping that this isn't a misprint. So if anyone else has the Cleric cards, let me know if you have a blank one in there, and come Friday when I do the opening of the Arcane cards, I should also have a better idea. But in order to read these, so it gives the class on the bottom, and what it has here, so it has your, up here, it just gives the school of magic that it's from. So guidance, for example, I don't know how well it's going to show up, but that says Divination Cantrip. The range is touch. Casting time is 1 action. Components V and S stand for verbal and somatic. And duration is up to 1 minute, and this symbol here represents concentration. So you can only have concentration on one spell at a time. So if you cast another spell that if you're looking at your cards and it has that symbol on there as well, the first one that you were maintaining, that goes away. And then it has just the information. So it says you touch one willing creature. So again, this is specifically for guidance. Once before the spell ends, the target can roll a d4 and add the number rolled to any one ability check of its choice. It can roll the die before or after making the ability check, and then the spell ends. So that's kind of cool. So then we just have light. So with the cantrips, what they do is they actually scale with level. So they're a little bit different. Let's see if I can find their Sacred Flame. Alright, so we got Sacred Flame here, and it just has the Evocation cantrip. Casting time is 1 action, range is 60 feet, again verbal and somatic. And instantaneous duration gives the information here, so it says flame-like radiance descends on a creature that you can see within range. Target must succeed a dexterity saving throw or take 1d8 radiant damage. The target gains no benefit from cover for the saving throw. And this one has at higher levels. So again, cantrips automatically become stronger as the character levels. So it says this spell damage, or the spell's damage increases by 1d8 when you reach 5th level, and then has 2d8 in brackets, so it tells you how much it does. 11th level and 17th level. So again, that's pretty cool. Spare the dying. Oops. I guess I should actually show them on the camera here. Thaumaturgy. So that's a pretty good one to have as a card there. And we'll just put that blank one there. Alright, so let's just have a look here. So, let's see if we can just find... Now these ones do look like they are in alphabetical order as well. And what's kind of cool, alright, so it's actually kind of neat, is the Cleric spells have, so Clerics have domains. And some domains give you access to spells that aren't normally on the Cleric list. So what's really cool is that it gives the Cleric and then the domain that it's from. So you've got Nature, that's just a regular Cleric spell. But then there's Light, so Burning Hands is not normally a Cleric spell. So that's pretty cool. And Trickery, so it gives you the domains on there as well, and on top of it being in alphabetical order. So that's pretty neat. Again, you just want to go through and take the ones that you would commonly have memorized and make sure you have those pretty handy with you there. So let's just have a look at an old standby, which is Cure Wounds. So it gives a first level evocation, and I think there was actually a time, I want to say back in like the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons days, that I want to say that the cure spells technically fell under the necromancy school or sphere, just because it affected like the life force or something like that. I could be completely and totally wrong with that. It may have just been cause wounds that was maybe part of that, but back in the day they were the same spell. You would just memorize which version of it that you wanted. So anyway, again, if I'm wrong, I apologize. It's been a while since I looked at the AD&D cleric spells. So we got Cure Wounds, first level evocation, casting time is 1 action, verbal and somatic. I don't think there's too many spells that would actually use a material component, but I do have one here. So we'll just set that aside. So again, we got duration instantaneous. You touch a creature, regains number of hit points equal to 1d8 plus your spell casting ability modifier. The spell has no effect on undead or constructs. And then at higher levels, when you cast this spell using a spell slot of 2nd level or higher, the healing increases by 1d8 for each spell slot level above 1st. So if you use a 2nd level spell, it's 2d8. If you use a 3rd level spell, it would be 3d8, and so on. So, the last thing I just want to show off here, so we've seen a few different types. Oh, actually, I guess I didn't have to go very far to find one with material components right here. So again, material components usually seem to show up on the cleric spell list when it's their domain spells, because they typically come from a different type of magic. So a lot of these would be like arcane spells. So let's actually, why don't we look at this one instead? Let's just look at Identify. Good old-fashioned Identify. So this is a knowledge domain spell. And so this one here, what's cool about this is it is a first level, come on there, it is kind of a glossy card. So it's first level divination, and it can also be cast as a ritual. And what a ritual is it doesn't require a spell slot, but it takes significantly longer to cast the spell. The casting time is normally 1 minute. Range is touch. Duration is instantaneous, and then it has verbal, somatic, and material components. And anything that has material would list it at the top here. So, the material components for the spell is a pearl worth at least 100 gold pieces and an owl feather. What's interesting about material components in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons is, unlike previous editions, unless it specifies, the material component is not actually consumed, which they used to be. So you used to have that 100 gold piece pearl for every time you wanted to cast Identify. And with this one, in this version of the game, you just have to have the pearl. So you don't have to, it doesn't get destroyed by casting the spell. But it just says here, so you choose an object that you must touch throughout the casting of the spell. If it is a magic item or some other magic-imbued object, you learn its properties and how to use them, whether it requires attunement to use, and how many charges it has, if any. You learn whether any spells are affecting the item and what they are, and an item that is created by a spell, you learn which spell created it. If you instead touch a creature throughout the casting, you learn what spells, if any, are currently affecting it. So that's actually kind of neat. I never really looked at Identify in 5th edition. So, again, there you go. And it just, again, I'm not going to go through all the specific cards, but this would be all the cards for the Cleric for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, all the player's handbook spells, and anything else. If there were spells in Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, which I'm really kind of hard-pressed to remember if there were or not, they would be in this. They should be in this as well. But again, you've just got like all the domains, which is really cool. So it does separate them out, which is really nice. And yeah, so I like these quite a bit. And just on the back, you just have the cleric symbol. So each class has a symbol in the player's handbook. If you look when on the first page that they're listed on, so it just has the cleric symbol on the back. The Xanathar's one had the Xanathar symbol on them, but it did have the class symbols on the bottom of the card for the classes that could actually cast the spell. So if you're wondering where this symbol came from, it's not just something that's unique to the card. If you look at the player's handbook, under the cleric class, the very first page that they're on, it should be on one of the top corners, I believe. So those are the Cleric spell cards. Again, there's the other bundle here. It's more of the same, so I'm not going to go through and open them all. The important thing to know is that it has 153 of these cards in here. But what I'm curious to know is if this blank card is a misprint, or if it's something that is included normally with these sets. So that being said, if anyone has the Cleric set out there, let me know if there is this blank card. Again, I think you can simply use let's just see if you can use the dry erase marker on it, since I've got a dry erase marker on here. So let's just write spell details. Alright, and so we've got that, and that should just wipe right off. So yeah, that comes right off there, so maybe that's its purpose. If there's any custom spells or spells from new sources. So that's pretty neat, but let me know if this is something that does come with them. And again, I'll probably know by the time I do my opening of the arcane cards if they maybe have something similar. Xanathar's Guide did not have a blank card in it. But yeah, so like I said, I really like these. For me, these are well worth the price if you're going to play these classes. And I think for me specifically, having the arcane and the cleric spells are the two most commonly used types. So I mean, I know that there's they have the cards for druids, bards, paladins, and rangers. I might try to get the Ranger one just because that's my favorite class. That's more of a personal thing, but honestly, these are the two most important sets in my opinion. And so the Cleric ones, again, are just something that I really wanted to have. And I think if you're someone who plays these types of classes, especially if you play them regularly, like there are some people who just like to play Clerics. I make a lot of NPC Clerics, so having these are going to be way, way better than trying to remember or only using the most basic of spells like cures or things that I know off by heart. So it'll make me, or give me the ability to make sort of more dynamic clerics without slowing down the game by having to flip through the player's handbook to find the spells. So these things are, of course, something that I highly recommend, especially again if you play a particular class regularly. And because flipping through the spell books can be kind of, or the spell descriptions in the player's handbook can take up a fair amount of time. And with the Cleric ones, another reason why they're so great is Clerics get access to all the spells on their list. You just choose which ones. So again, I think that these are really, really handy. And if this is intentional, I think it's really cool that there's a blank one in case you create your own spell, or you find a spell in a new resource or a third-party product that you want to be able to use. So anyway, that was my opening and look at the Cleric Spellbook cards. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and hope you enjoyed the video, and be sure to come back on Friday when we're going to open up this bad boy. And again, this is probably at least twice the size. Yeah, that's even more than twice the size of the Xanathar's Spellbook card, so that's just pretty crazy. But anyway, on Friday we'll be looking at the arcane spells. Thank you guys very much for watching again. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you found it helpful, and we'll see you next time.